Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this debate. The topic for today's debate is the legalization of divorce in the Philippines. According to Encyclopedia, divorce is the formal dissolution of marriage bond by a court or other competent body. This is illegal in the Philippines until a bill came that legalized divorce on the 4th day of February 2020. I believe that this statement is true. I am going to discuss my points. My first point is that divorce is one of the solutions in separating couples, for the husband and wife can have the freedom they opt to have, especially when there is conflict in the fight of the family. This results to abusing, for such men overpowers the strength of a woman. A lot of situations like this already happened in the Philippines, so it can be proven by anybody and anywhere that this is not a good thing. That's why divorce is basically needed to be established here in our country. Thus, divorce is the best solution for a family that has been in conflict. My second point is that some states requires at least a minimal showing of fault, but no-fault divorce is now the rule, in which it is enough to be feeling incompatible towards your partner to file a divorce. Only state courts have jurisdiction on divorces, so the petitioning or the complaining party can only file a divorce if he or she has been a resident in a state for a period of time. If children are involved, they are, unfortunately, becoming financial pawns in a divorce when their custody has been decided. Children are egocentric. They're still naive on some things, causing them to feel that they've been the cause in the separation of their parents. That's why parents should ought them to understand the situation. Always remind them that your love for them is eternity and would never change just because of it. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, divorce is the best solution for every couple for having a separation. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant morning to each one of us. I agree with the definition given by the opposition. However, I highly believe that the statement is false. Now, allow me to make my rebuttal on the points given by the opposition. To start off with first, mind you that marriage is a religious ceremony done in front of so many people and in the eyes of God. You make vows with each other, saying for better or worse, in sickness and in health, till death do you part. And when we talk about divorce, do not be shocked or something when marriage is heated, because these two are really connected, related with each other. You stated that divorce is needed when a couple has conflict and when they needed freedom. Okay, freedom. You enter marriage for the two of you to bind together. So why divorce? It says until death do you part, not till you can take your fights anymore. So secondly, before getting married, dating period happens. This is when you get to know your girlfriends and boyfriends more. Be it physically, emotionally, spiritually, etc. Before you get it to the next level. Before you get maturity, before maturity attacks you, before you venture in the world of partnership, marriage. You're guaranteed an ample amount of time to know every aspect of your partner. Thus, incompatibility is not enough reason to grant divorce for a couple. I mean, you can't marry a stranger, yeah? In this amount of time, in this period, dating period, you'll know if you two are compatible or not with each other. Lastly, divorce is harmful to children, you said. You came up with this idea, but then you still agreed to make it legal. You stated that children became financial pawns in divorce, and this is highly unacceptable, as divorce is often scarring children's mind. Children, whatever they feel, divorce scars them. The family falls apart, and as for the children, their world crashed apart. How can you just allow it to be legal when these certain circumstances happen? How can you justify it? And in conclusion to my rebuttals, divorce is not the best solution for separation. Even separation is not the best solution for couples having conflicts with each other. There are plenty more ways to solve a problem, to resolve it, and divorce is not counted in it. Thank you.
Thank you for the response, Mr. Merrill. I just want to clarify that the word freedom means that the conflict was the worst. Worst scenarios happen every time, anytime here in the Philippines. We know or we might not know. That's why couples choose to separate via divorce, to avoid more complicated fights that may lead to worst cases. And separation is good for divorce because there are a lot of advantages included in getting divorced with your complicated partner. You can divide your properties as well as your debts. You can decide parenting issues such as custody, visitation, and child support, and determines if alimony applies and the amount to be paid, etc. Now, the question is, will you choose to have big problems than to have a divorce that you have agreements and it is legal and have written documents serves as evidences? Yes, you'll know if you are both compatible with each other or not, but you'll never know everything about your spouse. We should consider the situation here in the Philippines. We, the people in the Philippines, may choose if what they will do because this is a democratic country. Divorce is one of them. You just misunderstand my point. I just want you to know that divorce is good for a couple to have separation, not to have conflicts that will much more affect the child compared when there is no divorce. The divorce bill takes appropriate precaution and keeps the most vulnerable stakeholders, the children, in mind. It provides professional and much needed support to families in the process of divorce, and would allow parents to clearly mind on with their lives and be in a better position to parent their adolescents. So everyone, in conclusion to any points, Philippines basically needed the legalization of divorce. I strongly believe that couples tend to solve their incompatibilities with the help of divorce. Thank you.
Okay. I highly doubt what you stated about freedom. I mean, if you are to divorce and you want freedom that badly, why marry in the first place? To legalize divorce would allow the decay of the family. When you and your wife engage in the act of love, both of your souls fuse together. And divorce is trying to break this fusion. Just so you know, part of marriage is to work whatever problems you have with your spouse. In fact, your spouse is your best friend. Well, hopefully they are. However, we live in a world where people are being selfish. Anyone would want to work everything out with a friend. Otherwise, what kind of friend are you? That's an example that applies with marriage. Now, if something happens, gotta work it out. You try to work it out. Do not refer divorce as an option to solve your problem. Be rational. That's it. Next is to think that you had been with a person for a long period of time takes you a leverage of deciding whether to marry that certain person or not. Mostly, men are abusive to women, yes. But shouldn't you take consideration of your family as one? Just because of incompatibility, your resolve is to have divorce as a solution. Bear in mind that family is precious. Being together as a whole defines us, being Filipinos. We are made to be resilient. And so, families and couples should take the lead in really fighting for their marriage and togetherness. Thirdly, let's not deny the fact that children are very fragile. That's why they have difficulties in coping up with family problems, such as their parents are breaking apart, separate. Divorce may influence children to lose faith in the concept of having a complete family. And that is a very sad truth. So heartbreaking. Children's emotional and psychological state is at stake, is at risk. Can you take this? In summary, divorce tends to have a lot of negative effects, especially to children and family as a whole. So I strongly disagree with the idea of legalization of divorce in the Philippines. Thank you.
I got your point, but my opinion is that marriage is meant to last forever. And the word "till death do we part" that most of us believed. But what if the love that the couple once shared fade away? What if everything changes and the person started to live a life full of misery? Let's face reality here. This belief came in ancient times where life experiences were much shorter than today. And there is no other way apart from marriage to ensure a secure upbringing for the offspring of a union. There is no point in holding on in such a situation for a sake of principle. Incompatibilities happen because change happens. I believe that the only constant is change. Prior to what a philosopher once said, people change in time. The person we know before might not the same as now. That's why many wives are abused and treated with mischief because their husbands changed. It is stated in laws that incompatibility is enough to file a divorce to a partner. That's what lawyers are made for. They're the one who work with the papers and made the divorce an agreement that you won't regret. Divorce nullifies marriage, so giving the couples the escape from each other's grasp of complicated hand make them more comfortable than they were before. Households filled with fighting parents are damaging to children. Divorce is an essential way to avoid this. We also need to consider the repercussions for the children when their parents do not get along. Rather than forcing them to grow up in a loveless household, their parents should be able to split up and go their separate ways. To sum it all up, divorces are still undesirable both financially and emotionally. It is never something one would even enter into without proper thought and consideration. That certain causes triggers the implementation of divorce in our country. We should consider that in this debate, the conditions are when couples are having worst of the worst conflicts. Thus, I strongly believe that the legalization of divorce in the Philippines is the best solution for couples having hard times in their relationship. With that, I ended my speech. Thank you.
Thank you for accepting my point. However, you pointed out that lifelong marriage is merely a belief. Remember that marriage is about union of love, both of which are needed to be continual work on rather than abandon it casually. Modern expectations of a perfect marriage are unrealistic and have been fostered by entertainment industries' concept of an ideal relationship, and that's reality. People should not go into marriage expecting perfection, nor should they think of a marriage as based solely on romantic love. Marriage is both a union based on love and practical partnership that, like all relationship, has ups and downs that are needed to be worked out. I therefore say that divorce devalues the meaning of vows made at the wedding. So if you divorce, it's like you're just all words, not action. Secondly, it is a mere fact that the proposition will actually increase the number of failed marriages as people will enter into marriage lightly without consideration, knowing that they can always obtain a divorce if things do not work out. They're just plainly relying to it. They're not maybe someone don't take it seriously. Just because you're feeling incompatible with your partner, you'll immediately resolve as divorce. I strongly disagree with that. Can you see yourself in the future as a broken family? No, yeah? Everything has to be worked out between you and your partner. I mean, you won't marry in the first place if you're not compatible with each other, yeah? And it's what was stated in the Bible in the book of Ephesians 5:22 to 23. Wives should submit to husbands, and husbands should love their wives as they love themselves. Lastly, it is much more damaging for a child to suffer the break up of their parents than anything else. It is very difficult for children to see the two people they love the most in the world fall out of love for one another and break up. When you divorce, parents are separated, yeah? With parents living across towns or cities, places, children must accommodate the logistical problems of seeing both of their parents because they're actually separated. How? Be reminded that this is a burden. It comes at a cost of the happiness of the children. Therefore, divorce is definitely not a true medicine nor solution. Because according to our Philippine Constitution, we are supposed to be a pro-family, to protect the family and strengthen it. And divorce will not help our people at all. Because by essence, divorce is the invalidation of a valid marriage. Hence, I believe it values marriage as an institution. And that's the end of my speech. Thank you for listening.